As you may know, I've talked about $10,000 cars before, I admit, but after this comment, I decided it's time for a check-in for up-to-date prices. The video that comment is from is 2 years old, but still, I refuse to be one more guy pushing people over the edge by being like, anyone can find a C7 for just 20 grand. So now, just past the middle of 2024, here are 10 of the best American V8 cars you can get for under 10K. Let's get into it. Let me know what videos you want to see in the future, and if you want a shout out. I've been considering a rating my subscribers cars one, but I don't know if that'd be too cliche or not. And for my usual information disclaimer,
all prices here are from averages from mainly private sale or sometimes dealership listings in my general area with under 100 or 120k miles, no accidents, clean titles, and in good condition.
Now, first up is the easiest car to find here, and it's the C4 Corvette, which goes for $4,000 to $12,000. I'll admit, I didn't like these when I was younger, but a few years ago, I bought one to flip, and I can definitely see how that style interior could kinda, sorta, maybe grow on me. It wasn't high quality by any means, but in the 85 I had, it felt like I could have been in David Hasselhoff's Firebird or like a sporty, classic pinball machine. You get what I mean, right? They make a good amount of torque and they're light, aren't bad to work on, parts were easy to find, and most people say stay away from the 84s, but after that, everyone's really got their own opinion on each style. I got mine at the start of 2021 for $3K, and prices are higher now, but not by much. I wanted C5s to be on here, and I've seen people get them for $8,000 years ago when they knew someone, but I can't find enough of them for under 10K right now to justify it. Especially after my recent experience of finding what looked like a great $7,000 C5 that needed only minor repairs and was in great shape. But once I saw this one, I happened to notice some mold on the inside, on 90% of every single surface.
Ugh, brother, ugh. What's that?
So yeah, that sucks. But also, if you want a vet but have little headaches, I mean kids, you could always look into the exquisite looking Chevy Roadmasters, which came with the same LT1 V8s and C4s from 92 on. Next up is one that a lot of people brought up last video, and it's the 2011 to 17 Chevrolet Caprice, which was offered with 6-liter V8s making 355 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque with rear-wheel drive, while only costing $5,000 to $11,000. Since these were originally all cop cars in the US, it seems fairly common for sellers to put the idle hours and run times in the descriptions on these listings, which is nice, and high idle hours can be something to watch out for. Still though, if you're not scared of having to fix issues that come up, these look pretty cool on the outside even though the interiors are so bare, and they could be an awesome alternative to the more expensive G8s or the way more expensive Chevy SSs. Sadly, they ended production of the Chevy SSs when they ended these, but I swear, if I ever meet whoever made that decision, I know what I'm doing. Legal disclaimer, no part of this video is a threat, it's all jokes. Big ol' number 3, and I do mean big, is the Dodge Chargers and Chrysler 300s with 5.7-liter V8s. Some people might hate that these are on here because of the Hemi tick that seemed to especially blow up a few years ago, but if you can find one of these that's been well maintained with consistent oil changes and doesn't have 200k miles on it, they can still be a great option. I've also read there are actually 2 types of potential ticks from these, one kind being from the lifters, which many people say can be helped with certain oils, but otherwise it'd probably be a few grand to fix or upgrade for this, or an exhaust tick from the manifold cracking or manifold bolt snapping. So it's not always an end of the world thing if it happens, but if you can find one of these that seems safe, then that's always worth it. Last video I didn't see enough of these to add them, but now I'm seeing them for around $8,000 to $13,000, with the Chargers generally being more expensive. And again, if you've got kids and need the extra cargo space, they threw these V8s in SUVs, which is nothing new. But you could also get a Dodge Magnum so you don't need to make any rash decisions. Next is the 4th gen Camaros, coming in at number 4, or Quattro as they say in Italy. This is a fairly wide range of years because it included the original and facelifted F-bodies, but I definitely prefer the facelifted ones. These make between 275 and 310 horsepower and 325 to 340 pound-feet of torque depending on the trim and year, and they seem to cost as low as $6K. There's also the same generation Firebird, which I was actually able to find a decent number of for less than $10K, but for good condition Firebirds with the really awesome WS6 package, it doesn't seem uncommon for people to ask $15,000 to $20,000 for those. Now for for another car duo, and yes, I realize I'm adding a bunch of extra cars here, but some of these are too similar not to. It's the 06 and 7 Monte Carlo SS's and Impala SS's with 5.3-liter V8s. These make about 300 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque and cost between 8 and 13 grand. They have great LS4 engines, but I've read that the transmissions aren't fully built up to match the engines, and front-wheel drive is definitely unfortunate, and I've seen a lot of people say they're not great for having to do work on because the engines are so packed in. That seems like a bit of a flex to be able to say to non-SS owners though, like, yeah, my engine barely fits in my car, there's so much power in a small car, it's a nice tightly packed ride. Next is the SN95 Mustang GTs, which everyone knew would be on here, but more specifically the new edges from 99 to 04. The 94 to 98s will be the cheapest option out of probably all V8 Mustangs, but in my opinion it doesn't take much extra cash to get the better looks from the new edges and improved quality, although I use the word improved very loosely when it comes to the interiors. If you're used to 2000s cars, the interiors really aren't the end of the world though. I was considering two of these a few months ago that I found for only $3 grand, but as you can imagine, being $3 grand, they had some issues. I really liked one, but the strut towers on these commonly rot, and on that one specifically, if I had the engine clearance for it, I could have fanned out my fingers as wide as possible and still fit my hand clean through the rot gaps on both sides of the car. There was barely any rust anywhere else, but the owner of this had been driving it hard for 20 plus years. But today, promising listings for these seem to be $6,000 to $12,000, and if you're willing to do some work, you could maybe get one for more like $4 or $5K. And actually, speaking of crumbling apart, the next cars are from an old company called Pontiac.
But anywho,
it's the Bonneville GXP and Grand Prix GXP. The Bonnevilles had 4.6-liter Northstar engines, which I will talk about later, and the Grand Prix had 5.3-liter V8s. Both cars have decent exteriors, extremely mediocre interiors, and seem to cost around $6,000 to $9,000.
69 months? No, 6 to 9 months.
Third to last for today is the Lincoln LS, which seems to go for as low as $4 grand in good condition. Some people love these because they go for such an awesome price with V8s, and some people hate them and will give them away for that awesome price. The downsides most people seem to bring up are the engine is from a Jaguar, and overall the cars are pretty bland. But if you like these, that could be where you come in and make it look good and sound good. Alright, here is what can be a very controversial one. It's the 06 to 11 Cadillac DTSs with a Northstar V8. These Northstars can get a terrible rap, mainly because of all the leaks that can come from them. After all my time looking through owner reviews and advice though, the main issue is with the head gaskets, which this guy summed up well compared to everything else I found, so I'll just put what he said on screen. Most people say the fix was in 04, but these DTSs started in 06 anyway. A lot of people talk very highly of Northstars after that fix was made, but it'll always come down to how the car you're going to look at was treated. Now, for number 10, it's the one, the only, the amazing, the art and science museum worthy Crown Vics. These were offered with 4.6-liter V8s, making a whopping 200 to 250 horsepower and 235 to 280 pound-feet of torque, depending on the year, and they only weigh between 3,800 and 4,100 pounds. Really though, a lot of people who have had these do seem to have loved them, and the 2Vs in them are pretty reliable. Just again, if you get a retired cop car, keep in mind the issues that could come from that and how it could have been treated. There are also the Lincoln Town Cars and overall slightly more refined Mercury Grand Marquis, which are a little more expensive. I'm adding a bonus car, which is the Lincoln Mark 8 or Continental, which costs only $4,000 to $11,000 because last time people thought I should have had them, and maybe you'll hate me for this, but I have to say, do you really think this rear end should be on a 10 best cars list? Honorable mentions that are usually a little too expensive are GTOs, S197 Mustangs, STSVs, and C5s. And if you found one of these for less than $10,000, tell me your deal down in the comments so I can be sad for me, but happy for you. Thank you so much for 30,000 subs. I genuinely appreciate you and your comments, which I do my best to always read. Also, punching the thumb, subscribe, and notification buttons if you enjoy it would be very cool. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.